A big roadblock that comes up for most students and teachers when learning music is learning to read music, learning to read notation, and learning to sight read. These are basic skills that need to be known if you are playing certain instruments. But in many cases, if you're teaching something like drums or guitar or bass, very commonly played instruments, there's likely going to be students who just don't read music. And so we're going to explain how to teach someone who can't read music. But before we get into that, my name is Massimo Coric. I have been teaching for a couple years now. I have personally taught the guitar, but I also play things like the bass, drums. I dabble in piano, but I'm not great at it on two hands. Double bass is probably my favorite instrument. I also play the trumpet, and I've dabbled in flute a bit, so I've kind of gone all around. I also help teachers and aspiring teachers to turn their passion into an income, which I'm going to be helping you with on this channel. That's what we do. We help aspiring teachers, aspiring music educators turn their passion into an income. Because to be honest, making money in the music industry is a bit tough. A lot of competition, especially in certain areas. Education is a great place to start and really get a name for yourself in the industry. Let's get straight into it. How do we teach someone who can't read music? Well, most of your students won't be able to read music, especially from the beginning, and that's normal. We probably couldn't read music from birth. It's a skill, and playing music is a different skill. They're two different skills. So we're going to teach both, but we're going to teach it in the right order. Okay, so we're going to start with the ear, not the page. This is kind of different to the way that I was taught personally. When I started, I was kind of forced into learning notation and how to read music before I really started to learn what things sounded like and where to find them on an instrument. But I prefer the ear first. I'm personally way better with my ear than I am now compared to reading music, especially at high tempos. I don't know about you guys, but that's definitely me. I can't read very fast, but I can definitely hear it and copy it instantly. So I like to start with learning by ear. So we're going to do this format, which is very common in business places as well. When you are training someone, we do it ourselves. So the teacher will do the action. They will write it down, and they write down how to do it. Then they'll explain it to the student, watch the student do it, and then repeat that until the student is capable. So we're going to teach them to listen and copy. That's how we've all learnt since we were a baby. That's how we learn in the business place. That's how we learn at work. That's how we're going to teach. We're going to use simple songs that everyone already knows. So I personally started with Ode to Joy. That was a classic. Honestly, that's like the first thing I play, even 12 years later now. I pick up the guitar and I instantly play it. It's like the back of my hand. So we're going to start with songs that people know instantly. And then once we learn how to play songs like Jingle Bells, then we're going to go into theory after that. And so we learn to play, then we go into the theory, right? What are the practical tools that don't require reading? So number systems. So, on the frets on a guitar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 12. Your fingers, you've got 5 fingers, or maybe you've got 10 fingers if you're playing piano, or you've got drums, drum 1, 2, 3, whatever they're called. Snare, tom 1, tom 2, floor tom, a hi-hat, the crash, maybe the China cymbal, the ride cymbal, whatever you have. We're going to use those as numbering systems, naming systems. A big one is tab. Tab is used a lot for guitar and bass. If you are learning something like the trumpet, I know they have the fingering under certain notes that may be difficult to remember or you may not know. So visual things are going to work, numbers are going to work, not symbols preferably. It's going to really mess up when you're learning how to actually read music. The symbols are really going to mess with you. And then when the student is going to be practicing during the weekend, I would suggest recording yourself playing it and have them watch over it and copy you. That's the easiest way to learn during the weekends, so you don't have to be so on hands in between lessons. And just remember that you can teach someone to love music before they can even read a single note. Some of the best musicians in the world have never learned to read. Personally, I know a few guys, although they did have perfect pitch, they learnt how to play things by ear long before they learnt to read it, and these guys are out playing gigs every week, every day. It's like their main source of income. So you can really learn a lot before even getting to, the middle of the stave, B or D, depending on bass or treble, whatever that means. That's like not non-important. So, when do we introduce someone to reading? That is a good question that we need to be thinking about. This is going to be different for each student, but there's a few pointers that really get me to teaching to get to that. So, I usually go for about 4 to 5 songs by ear, basic ones, or even 3 depending how quickly they pick it up. So, I go with the basic one-note song, Jingle Bells, Ode to Joy, and whatever else they're feeling like. There's a lot of books that you can learn from. I have a few here. Ooh, here we go. So these were here's one for the trumpet. I've got one for the trumpet here. And this was one that I learnt with when I started the trumpet I would have been 10. So this is Accent on Achievement, right? I go to these books not just for trumpet specifically, even though it does say trumpet. I don't use it specifically for trumpet. I use it to basically base what songs we're learning with on guitar as well. This is probably the main page I've gone to. I've written a bit on it, but you won't be able to see that. We've got, Hot Cross Buns, classic. That's probably the one you're going to want to start with straight away. Then you can go to Jingle Bells, and then Au Clair de la Lune. I probably butchered that. I always have. I'm not great with other languages. Bang. So this is what the page would look like. This is where kind of the book that I go to for, taking a look into what I want to be teaching students. So this kind of book here, it is specifically for trumpet, this one, but we go through it, and it's kind of got great for beginner stuff. We can start with basic songs. So these are the songs I'm going to start with. Things like Jingle Bells, Clair de la Lune, Ode to Joy, Hot Cross Buns. And by the end of it, you get all the way to the etudes, basic etudes of proper songs. So going through a book like this is a great way to learn how to read music, but also just learning 3 songs from the book is perfect. And then you can go to a book like that, find those notations of it, and they can learn to read it by playing the notes that are there. There's also when the student asks. So the student, after a bit, they might get curious on how to read music. They probably looked into it and been like, oh, this is a whole nother language. This makes no sense. That's when you can start to teach them that. And when it comes to music reading, it's a separate skill entirely. So we're going to try to keep the sessions short. So I would probably split it into the last 5 minutes. So based off what you've been learning on the instrument, you can now give them the notation or notation questions, or get them to write down which note they are. So give them a etude or a basic song and go write the note name underneath and then play it for me, and we'll be perfect by next week. Very, very simple stuff. And that's kind of it. I did go into a bit of a tangent about the book. That was a big learner for me personally, and I do use those with a lot of students. But I want to thank you guys for watching today. We have a lot of other videos in the archives of all, basically anything that you need to know for teaching and beginning your music lesson journey. I've turned what was an income source for me into a free source on here for you. I've created a website called Scenario.net, which will help you as a teacher or a student connect. You'll be able to connect as a teacher with students, as a student with teachers. You'll be able to make your own money as a teacher. It's completely free. And I just want to help teachers turn what their passion is into a full-time income. I want teachers to be making a full-time income. You can do online lessons there, video courses, personal lessons. We do weekly group calls with all the teachers. We're looking for our first 10 founding members. So if you are a founding member, I will be directly in contact with you to help you start up your teaching journey.